What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of BurlyFishing. Today, we've got two bags to unbag. The Monster Bass regional bag and a little bonus bag here. This bag that's full of tungsten. That's right, Monster Bass started making tungsten, which is absurd, but also awesome because I work with them, so now I get tungsten, so awesome. But we're gonna talk about that in a second. So, MB's making tungsten, what does that mean? What's the cost? Is it cheaper? Is it really worth it? I don't know. We're gonna find out. And we're gonna put them to the test, obviously, because that's what we do on the channel here. And then, of course, we got the Monster Bass regional bag to unbag. This month, though, is the March bag. It's the Bassmaster Classic bag. Every single bait in this bag has had a hand in winning a Bassmaster Classic at some point in time. So it might be like kind of an unbagging slash history lesson. I don't know about you guys. I definitely didn't keep that tight a pulse on the Bassmaster Classics, especially over the years and through the decades. But if you did, then it's gonna be refreshing to see. If you did not, it's gonna be enlightening to see. So I think it'll be fun. I've got actually a fun little sheet that Monster Bass sent me telling me the history of each of these baits. So I'm pumped to go through it, and I think you guys are gonna get like a nice fancy little card that'll talk to you about that too when you get your bag. So I'm excited for it. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. I think you guys are gonna enjoy the baits that are in these bags. And then of course, as always, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Smash the like on this video, ring that notification bell so you can see when I drop more content, and you can come hang out with me and my buddy Paul. We talk fishing and hang out with a lot of really cool people in the fishing industry every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So hop on that live, it's on YouTube, and talk to us in chat. I think it'd be a lot of fun to see you there. All right, so let's first go through this here bag of tungsten. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you get onto Rick's VIP list, he will actually text you deals like this. So this deal, for example, is up right now, and it's gonna get you quite the discount to get a nice sample of like all the different weights that Monster Bass carries for this tungsten, and you get it in one of these nice bags. So let's see how many weights we actually got in here. This is, I believe it's also on their site. This is their sampler pack that's normally 40 bucks. It's currently 25% off for $30. And we got to count out how many actual weights we get here. So there's actually 14 weights that you get in this kit, which is pretty awesome considering that you're getting them in weight variants from 5/16 up to 1 ounce. There are two 1 ounce weights that came in this kit. And you know, this is the first iteration as well that I would say of the tungsten weights. So I think now that they're dabbling in them, we'll probably see more types of weights, maybe drop shot weights, maybe Ned rig weights, maybe shaky heads, I don't know. And maybe they'll make like punch weights and worm weights and all other sorts of stuff as well. So we'll see what happens. So let's start with the big boy just so we can take a look at this. So we got the 1 ounce here. So the 1 ounce, you can see we got the MB logo, got the 1 ounce. So the weight is on these. That is nice. That is key. That is crucial. Love it. And these are flipping weights, so you can see they're kind of rounded here a little bit more, so it makes it so it's a little bit easier to pull and flip over cover without getting snagged as much. So this is something that we're going to be pairing up. We're going to use like, you know, a peg on top of this, probably. It's optional. You might put a bead below that. There's a nice little recessed spot there. Put a bead below that and then a flipping hook below that. And that added space with the bead and the flipping hook is actually something that makes it really easy to hook up into the fish's mouth. Highly recommend it, by the way. But if you got beads, you are set. These things are sweet. I mean, it's a flipping weight. There's not a ton we're going to talk about with these weights. All I can say is that getting, you know, this many ounces of tungsten for 30 bucks is pretty insane. So it is actually a steep discount. It is really a good deal. As far as the color, these are all black. They are not painted. They do not chip because it's just the tungsten color through and through. But they're also not very reflective, which is fine. So it's kind of just throwing like a flat color around. So it's all good. Will they come out with colors later? Maybe. We'll find out. But for now, it's just, you know, this non-chippable material, which is awesome. You know, these aren't going to get beat up. They don't have paint to fall off of them, so you can just toss them into really any tackle box you're carrying around. You know I will. I'll throw them in my Busby tackle boxes and be ready to rock with them. I'm excited to use these this season. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So again, 14 weights, 30 bucks. From 5/16 of an ounce up to 1 ounce. That is quite quite the variation in weights. It's basically everything you need. You can do a lot with flipping weights. I mean, they're very similar to just your regular like bullet weights, worm weights. You can use them the same way. It's just, I'd say, a little more versatile. So something I'd highly recommend you guys check out. Okay, so let's get to the real deal. We got the Bassmaster Classic bag here, and I'm excited to see what's in this, and I think you guys are gonna like it too. Again, these are big money baits. Like, these have made people a lot of money. So they do work. There's also a special bait in here I'm gonna go through last with you guys. That is a nice little MB collaboration, but there's some cool stories in here, so let's go through these. So first of all, we got the bag. You can fill this up with your plastics. It holds a lot, like a lot of bags of plastics. It's a pretty good size. If you are a bank angler or you're fishing from a kayak, this thing is your jam. Fill it up. Okay, so first up, we've got a straight classic, the Strike King KVD 1.5 square bill. This one coming in this like watermelon craw pattern. They call it Phantom Watermelon Red Craw. It's a little translucent as well. So let's check this out. Story behind this is the bait that won KVD his third Bassmaster Classic in 2011. Are you freaking kidding me? All right, so first off, we've got this awesome watermelon craw pattern. You can see how it's a little bit translucent. You can see the little ball chambers in there. Short lip, this thing is a shallow diver, it's 3 to 5 feet, but it's got really nice stout treble hooks. These things are well made. They are super sharp, sticky hooks. They're gonna hang on to fish. It's awesome. I like this color. It's got like some of the nice little red sparkles up on top, so a little added flash. And then that like green and deep red on the belly, looking real nice. So story with these is a story with any square bill, man. You're deflecting it off of cover. That's essentially what KVD did to win that Bassmaster Classic. And these things will straight catch them, man. If you guys aren't fishing square bills, you are definitely missing out. I'm excited for it. I was just talking to my boat a little bit earlier. Soon, baby. Soon. And, you know, the consensus with her was like, we can't wait to get back out on the water because we're going to be fishing some square bills. I'm hitting the river. The river is like, for us, the first thing that really opens up. I usually river fish from like late March until mid-April, and then the lakes open up. Then I go hit the lakes. But the river is usually that first spot where I'm like, go here, jigs, Ned rigs, pretty much all day, and jerk baits, of course. So this I'm excited to start throwing. Just gonna show this one as well. This is not a Bassmaster Classic winning bait. However, it is a really cool collaboration. The funny story with this is it was supposed to drop last month, but we had a whole bunch of crazy delays in shipping. You know how the world is crazy right now. So we're getting this at this point. So this is the Monster Bass Hammerhead collaboration with Alex Rudd. Alex Rudd is just an all-around awesome bearded dude, and he collaborated to pick some custom colors and to make our Hammerhead square bill silent. And if you guys don't know, throwing around silent square bills can be deadly, especially if you got finicky bass, or if you're like me, you got mostly like stained to, you know, semi-clear water. I like throwing a silent rather than a big rattly loud thing. I'll save that for the darker, dirtier waters and on the river where I need to like make a disturbance. But the silent square bill for me crushes on lakes. It crushes when, you know, that water clarity is up, and it crushes in the spring and fall when the water temps are a little bit lower. So this is something I would definitely be throwing around. So this square bill here is 2 3/4 inches. It's 7/16 of an ounce, so almost just shy of a ½ ounce. But it's got a really sick color to it here. It's called Rudd Red, or the way it looks on the box is ruddered. So I'm calling it ruddered. The Rudd Red or ruddered color right here. So ruddered is this craw color. Molten craw, I would think of it as, with like these gold little, let's call them flames. This is a flaming craw. And then we got like that spotted black top coloring as well. Darker red, just solid red on the belly. That gold tip to it, pretty slick. This is a collaboration with Messer's Baits. They make awesome custom baits. So a lot of our custom color patterns that you're gonna see with MB are gonna be collaboration with Messer's. But from here, you've got nice stout hooks. Love the way these hooks have that little like tight gap to it, so they swing back in. That's just gonna be an easy way to keep fish pinned. And then again, it's silent. That's actually just the split ring at the top. it's silent, right? So that is stabbing into me. Super sticky hooks, great. It's not an unboxing unless I get stabbed. Anyways, great bait, awesome square bill. I've thrown around the hammerhead a lot from MB, and it is it's up there as one of my favorite square bills. Is it number one? No, but it's definitely top 5. So I know I'm gonna like this already. And with it being silent, I think we're gonna get a good variation. Also, check out the eyes, dead black eyes. It's dope. I love it. I didn't say this either, but the Strike King is actually silent as well. So these make a lot of sense for spring, and we're definitely gonna catch some fish. Okay, back to big money winning baits. We got the Stanley Jigs jig. It is 3/16 of an ounce. It's a casting jig, and this color is definitely like a craw pattern. Let's take a look-see, eh? I'm like, I hope MB sends me another set of these baits so I can just hang it on my wall or something. Wouldn't that be nice? All the fancy famous baits. It's a jig, it's a casting jig. Pretty simple like setup, but let's check out the nuances here. So very small for a casting jig. It's got like a smaller head here. Yes, it's a little bit lighter, but check out the line tie on that. I love the position of this line tie. I think that's a really good key position. It's also got a super sharp, Stanley also makes their own hooks, so this is a Stanley hook, but they are mega sharp. If you haven't thrown a Stanley hook, don't touch it. You will be bleeding. They are insanely sharp. I can't even believe it. Nice brush guard to it, like very stout brush guard that I think is going to prevent you from getting into cover pretty well, but not going to miss you any bites. That's key for jigs if you want a jig to work. And then we've got a banded skirt, okay, banded skirt, but a heavy duty band on there. And check it out. This like craw, dirty kind of craw pattern to it. It doesn't even have just assorted colors. They don't even name the color of it, but I'd call it a craw pattern. So we got the browns, the black, and then that black strand there actually has this awesome red flare to it. So things that have really good color that pops on the bottom with this like brushed color. The jig head's pretty sweet too, with this like brown and gold. I don't even know if that's really, I'm not doing it justice on camera, but I think it looks dope. So what's the story behind that one, eh? Let me consult my sheet, because I don't know. Okay, so the jig actually has a storied history, but hang on. It goes along with this, which I gotta say is one of the coolest looking baits I've probably seen in a long, long time. So this is the Hale Original Craw Worm. Funny story about this. We actually had to help pull this out of retirement. So Monster Bass had a hand in bringing this thing back to life. They weren't really making it anymore. I think we had to source the mold and figure this all out. I don't know, there's a whole story there somewhere, but I'm sure Rick will talk about it on the channel. Now, here's the deal. This is a craw worm in a green pumpkin, like bright, vibrant green pumpkin color here. Not too dark a green, pretty bright. But it is a worm body to a craw. So what could you do with this? What couldn't you do with this? Are you kidding me? This thing is probably my favorite bait in this bag. I'm just gonna put it out right now. So this like flat body to the craw and these tapered flat claws down at the bottom is gonna have a ton of action. So a couple things we could do. Shorter jigs, we trim the worm part off and we just have this craw part. It's gonna have a ton of action. It's got a thin profile, it looks good. Texas rig this thing, Carolina rig this thing. It's gonna have a ton of added action versus a worm. It's still, you know, thin profile, but it's gonna have these claws flapping around, which I think are gonna look really good. So definitely something I would throw. And then you can actually just throw the whole dang thing on a bigger jig, and it's gonna make a great trailer. So there's a lot of options here with this thing. The two of these together have apparently had their hand in winning three Bassmaster Classics. Are you freaking kidding me? Don't pretend like you knew this or knew you had some crazy Bassmaster trivia. Maybe a few of you guys did, but you know I didn't. So I'm just gonna read it to you, right? So forgive me for that. 1988, Guido, gosh, now I'm gonna have to say names, you guys. My job is hard sometimes. Hibdon. He's a giant in finesse jig fishing. I feel like I should know this freaking guy. You know, what I would really like to see is like names with the phonetic, like how do you pronounce this? Like, give me that. That'd be great. But anyways, so we'll just say GH, the guy, used a 3/16 ounce Stanley jig. That's what we got here. And cross-style trailer, not necessarily the Hail Craw, but a cross-style trailer to win the Classic on Virginia's James River. Tight, tight, tight. Then we had blah, 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 blah. 1989, a year later. So Hank Parker, Texas rigged a Hail Craw worm to claim his second Classic championship. So that guy had 2 Bassmaster Classics. So one person used the jig, one person used the Hail Craw worm. Now we go to 1992. Robert Hamilton Jr. uses a 1/2 ounce Stanley jig, which he put the Hail Craw worm on and wins the Classic. So, but he didn't just win, he actually caught the biggest bass of the event, which was 6 pounds, 14 ounces. So that's pretty sweet. That's got me excited about this jig, you guys. That's nuts. I like it. So three Classics won between these 2 baits, and one of them won with both of these baits. So there you go. Stanley jig, Hail Craw. It's gonna be dope. I'm pumped about it. All right, so next up, we got 2 things that are not as exciting, of course, but they are important to help you catch fish. So we've got some trilene line right here. Trilene, like the funny story about that is it's kind of like the line of choice of 15 Bassmaster Classic winners. So I guess it's a good line, but there you go. So it's a line you can kind of pick up anywhere, but you know, MB is hooking you up with it. And it's the line that my grandpa used. It's the line that my dad used. It's a line that I'll probably use too. Why the heck not? But there you go. So a little trilene, we got 12 pound, 300 yards of that. That'll work on anything. Then we have Stanley Jigs tapered needle point hooks. So these come in a 4/0 size. You get 5 of them. They're a worm style straight shank hook. The thing about these is they're a little bit lighter, and because of like the shape of that line tie right there, you can do a lot of things. So we can flip with these, of course. It's got a really nice like bait keeper point at the tip there. So we can flip with it. You could actually just throw like a little surgical tubing over that line tie and slide it onto any of your spinner baits. They're a little bit lighter, so it's gonna help your bait stay a little more buoyant. So that's a pro tip that you could use. I stole that from Paul, so if you don't like it, blame him. And if you do, blame me. It was my choice to put in the video. So the story behind these hooks and the reason they're in this box is mostly just the legend of Lonnie Stanley. But one of the things that he did is in the 1992 Classic, you were restricted to only carrying whatever you could fit into a Flambeau box, specifically the Flambeau 2275 tackle box. And his was so jam-packed that the officials wanted to weigh it, and when they did, it weighed in at 49 pounds. It's my kind of guy. Pack that tackle box full, that's what I'm saying. So that's awesome. All right, so a bunch of baits down, 2 awesome baits to go. What do we got? We've got the Power Bait Chigger Craw. This is a straight classic craw. And I think amongst like one of the first plastics I think I ever picked up when I got into bass fishing. So this right here is a straight classic craw, green pumpkin, aka universal language of fish. And it's it's dual-sided. You can use it, you can flip it both ways, but you got eyes on one side of it. And then you've got the floating claws. So those flat claws right there are gonna have a ton of action. They're gonna float in the water really well. Got the appendages there. I like that it's segmented, so you can break this off. Do not recommend biting power baits. They're disgusting, but fish like them. You just rip off one of these segments to adjust the sides of it to fit the jig that you're trying to fish it with. So is this a great jig trailer? Of course it is. But you can, of course, also flip this around. It's got a thin profile. Maybe if you rip these appendages off, you could punch it. I don't think you're getting too much trouble with these claws here, so you could throw that through some heavier cover, but I'd probably just Texas rig this thing all day long. And you can Carolina rig it because it's got these awesome floating claws. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this guy. It is very versatile. They're not joking when they say this. I don't know if you guys have ever fished power bait. It's like, to me, it's not like a sexy bait, like new, fresh, hot on the market. It's flashy, it's cool. But guess what? Fish do hold on to them. They say 18 times longer. They ain't joking, man. They really do. You can throw literally anything in power bait. I got some right here. We got the purple curly tails there. They're gonna hang on to this. I'll start throwing that in the spring too. That's a great spring bait. So power bait works, man. What's the story behind that though? You ask, I will answer you, of course. So if you wanna know how this one won a Bassmaster Classic, it was in 2007 on Alabama's Lay Lake with none other than Boyd Duckett. So freaking Duckett who's a legend, obviously, had it pegged with a 1 ounce weight and a 5/0 hook. And that's it, Texas rig. And he was just slamming them. Caught an 8-pounder. Are you freaking joking me? So that's awesome. Great bait, classic bait. Gonna catch some fish. Speaking of Alabama though, and Boyd Duckett, your boy and Paul Glass, co-host of the BurlyFishing podcast, go like and subscribe. We were just on the Angler podcast, Wishing I Was Fishing with Shay Baker, who is an awesome human being in Alabama. So Angler actually featured a little head-to-head competition recently between Boyd Duckett and Cliff Crochet on Lake Gunnersville. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. So, you know, it's funny seeing all these names. All of a sudden, I'm starting to recognize people. You guys get mad at me for saying Rick Clune when it's Rick Clun. Just wait. I'm gonna learn stuff. So finally, we get to the last bait. We've got, I did say the hail crawworm was actually my favorite bait in this box. This is very, very close to the top. So this is the Gambler. So this is the Gambler Bacon Rind. And not only do I love the color, which is like this June bug color, but this thing is like a great spring bait. It is, you know, a little tube style body, right? Creature bait, okay? It's got some fins coming off the side. We got the big old flaps at the bottom. I do like these are a little bit thinner than on most creature baits, you know, the 5, 6, 7-inch ones. And it's got a curly tail. Are you freaking kidding me? That is legit right there. So great purple color, bright, flashy green flakes. This thing is going to straight catch fish. And it's made by Gambler. Legends. Legends. This entire bag is full of legends. Obviously, that's the point of the bag. So that one comes because it won a Bassmaster Classic in 1999 with Davey Height. Height? Somebody's gonna hit me in comments about that name. Again, Texas rigged. Wow, Texas rigging keeps coming up. So, Texas rigged, the Gambler Bacon Rind, smashed them, got the win. So, I think that's awesome. All right, guys, there we have it. So, that is the Bassmaster Classic bag. And we covered Tungsten too. So, there's a whole bunch of Monster Bass stuff going on right now. But here's the deal. Gambler Bacon Rind, Craw Worm, Stanley Jig, Powerbait Chigger Craw, Stanley needlepoint hooks, Trilene line. Then we got the Strike King KVD 1.5 square bill, and we got the Monster Bass Hammerhead Silent Edition from Rudd in ruddered colored. That's a wrap, people. All right, so we covered a lot of baits today. If you guys want to check this out for yourselves, go to monsterbass.com. You can order the tungsten weights for 25% off, get them for 30 bucks. 14 tungsten weights, varying from 5/16 of an ounce up to an ounce. Super awesome, great deal. Check it out. You can also get your first bag if you're not a subscriber of Monster Bass yet. Use code SAVE15, SAVE15 to get 15 bucks off your first bag, and essentially get it for 10 bucks if you get the national box, right? So super cheap if you want to try it out. I think this box was dope, but of course this is time for you to give me your 2 cents. So hit me up in the comments below. What did you think about the bag? What were the best baits, worst baits? What would you throw in your waters right now? And I guess if you want to argue if the baits work or not, just look at the Bassmaster Classic. These baits are worth a lot of money, so think about that. But hey, if you guys like the content today, of course, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd appreciate it if you do. Smash a like on this video, that helps us out a lot. Ring that notification bell so you can see when we drop more content. And of course, join me and my buddy Paul every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for a live BurlyFishing podcast. We're talking to awesome people in the industry. You won't want to miss it. There's going to be a lot of cool things going on this year with that podcast, so I hope to see you in chat sometime soon. Thanks for watching today, guys. You've been awesome as always. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope to see you on the next video.